I can only assume that you're all as irate as I am, and you're simply too dumbfounded to speak. Mr. Jobs promised us 1 million units. We have yet to reach a quarter of that. Something has to change.
With 2 failed projects, overextended R&Ds, and that Microsoft fiasco, we're about to experience the first quarterly loss in company history.
IBM beat us to market by 2 years with a better product and better sales. The Macintosh is not even a toy, it's a joke. IBM has now moved on to mini decks, and so should we.
What are you getting at, Arthur?
Gentlemen, I believe it's time to reconsider the viability of the personal computer. Steve, anything to say?
What would you have me say, Arthur? You raised our price. Don't put that on me.
The problem is not the price, Steve. It's your product. You overhyped the Mac. You told people to wait. You sold the future of the Macintosh. And as a result, we lost 2 years of sales.
It's not my fault.
Well, it sure as shit is somebody's fault.
Well, I'm not receiving any support. You're stripping me of my resources and dumping millions into the Apple II.
Do you know why we keep dumping millions into the Apple II? Because it sells. It's 70% of our revenue. How's the Mac doing?
I made my opinion perfectly clear. If you want to keep sucking on the tailpipe of IBM, then I can't stop you. But I will not take the blame for the failures of some court jester.
Right, this is crazy, Steve, right?
No. To whom are you referring, Steve?
I don't know, Arthur. You tell me.
John, you're awfully quiet.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I'm just at a loss for words.
Head of marketing. Pepsi genius. Lost for words. It's him. Not the Mac.
And you have to take control now. Do you have any idea how close our shareholders are to a panic? The implications of your inaction? Forget your job. The entire company is at stake here. This could ruin everyone.
I know, Arthur, but I still think that we can salvage this.
Can't salvage anything. I doubt. Steve.
Mike? John? Steve? Arthur?
What the hell are you doing here so early?
I could ask you the same question.
This is good. Steve, why don't you join us this time? Have a seat.
This time?
Steve, have a seat. John?
Arthur, I don't want to...
Yes, you do. Say it. Tell him what you've told me.
I find it increasingly difficult to do my job when the greatest obstacle in my path casts a looming shadow over everything I try to do.
What did you say?
Steve, you are your own worst enemy. And this company's.
It's unbelievable. Who do you think you are?
I'm CEO of Apple Computer.
Hiring you was the worst mistake I have ever made.
Steve, it doesn't have to be this way.
Okay, that's done.
My second story is about love and loss. I was lucky. I found what I loved to do early in life. Woz and I started Apple in my parents' garage when I was 20. We worked hard, and in 10 years, Apple had grown from just the two of us in a garage into a $2 billion company with over 4,000 employees. We just released our finest creation, the Macintosh, a year earlier, and I just turned 30. And then I got fired. How can you get fired from a company you started? Well, as Apple grew, we hired someone who I thought was very talented to run the company with me. And for the first year or so, things went well. But then our visions of the future began to diverge, and eventually we had a falling out. When we did, our board of directors sided with him. And so at 30, I was out, and very publicly out. What had been the focus of my entire adult life was gone, and it was devastating. I really didn't know what to do for a few months. I felt that I had let the previous generation of entrepreneurs down, that I had dropped the baton as it was being passed to me. I met with David Packard and Bob Noyce and tried to apologize for screwing up so badly. I was a very public failure, and I even thought about running away from the valley. But something slowly began to dawn on me. I still loved what I did. The turn of events at Apple had not changed that one bit. I'd been rejected, but I was still in love. And so I decided to start over. I didn't see it then, but it turned out that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. The heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life. During the next 5 years, I started a company named Next, another company named Pixar, and fell in love with an amazing woman who would become my wife. Pixar went on to create the world's first computer-animated feature film, Toy Story, and is now the most successful animation studio in the world. In a remarkable turn of events, Apple bought Next, and I returned to Apple, and the technology we developed at Next is at the heart of Apple's current renaissance. And Lorene and I have a wonderful family together. I'm pretty sure none of this would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. It was awful tasting medicine, but I guess the patient needed it. Sometimes life's going to hit you in the head with a brick. Don't lose faith. I'm convinced that the only thing that kept me going was that I loved what I did. You've got to find what you love. And that is as true for work as it is for your lovers. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it. And like any great relationship, it just gets better and better as the years roll on. So keep looking. Don't settle.
Não importa o quanto a vida lhe mostre o contrário. Não importa qual seja o seu desafio. Todos nós temos escolhas. Vencer ou perder o jogo é simplesmente uma questão de escolha. Qual será a sua escolha? Todos querem maiores e melhores resultados. Todos querem uma vida mais significativa. Todos querem ser mais e mais felizes. O que a maioria das pessoas não entendem é que vencedores são poucos. Por quê? Porque simplesmente a vida é dura, muito dura. Não importa qual seja sua cor, raça, condição financeira ou diplomas obtidos, uma coisa é certa: você enfrentará muitas dificuldades em sua vida. Diante das dificuldades, vencedores focam na solução e colecionam prestígio, fama, sucesso e amor. Perdedores focam no problema e colecionam justificativas, angústia, dor e ressentimento. Muitas pessoas já passaram por esses problemas, ou até piores, e conseguiram se superar. Toda história de sucesso tem por trás uma história de superação, e isso é inegável. O que realmente importa é o que você irá fazer daqui para frente, e a opção é sua, inteiramente sua. Fato. Vencedores encontram respostas para todos os problemas. Perdedores encontram problemas para todas as respostas. Se você conseguir superar este grande desafio da vida, que é o de acreditar em você mesmo, em seu futuro, e que você pode transformar seus mais profundos sonhos em realidade, lembre-se, vencedores são pessoas especiais. Tudo o que você precisa para estar no lugar mais alto são 3 coisas: acreditar que você pode, adquirir o conhecimento necessário e prática, muita prática. Não se iluda com dinheiro. Dinheiro só serve para uma única coisa: facilitar a vida. Poucos entendem que dinheiro potencializa quem você realmente é. Se você é mesquinho, mais mesquinho você fica. Se você é inseguro, mais inseguro você fica. Se você é caridoso, mais caridoso você fica. Assim, simplifique sua vida. Você acordará todos os dias e não importa o que você faça, tudo o que você desejará. No fundo, são 4 coisas: mais saúde e vitalidade, uma família feliz, fazer o que gosta em seu trabalho e conquistar sua independência financeira. Vencedores acreditam que precisam fazer algo e perdedores acreditam que algo precisa ser feito para eles. Não superestime o que você pode fazer em 6 meses, mas não subestime o que você pode fazer em 6 anos. Construa sua história, porque vencedores constroem histórias e perdedores contam histórias. Qual será a sua história? Entenda que é nos momentos de decisão que o nosso destino é traçado. Por isso, decida viver hoje por profundos valores: honra, justiça, lealdade, contribuição. Decida hoje construir a sua história. Decida hoje construir o seu futuro. E lembre-se, viva intensamente.
When you grow up, you tend to get told the world is the way that it is. Your life is just to live your life inside the world and try not to bash into the walls too much. But that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is that everything around you that you call life was made up by people that are no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. It's to shake off this erroneous notion that life is just there and you're just going to live in it versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. And once you learn that, you'll never be the same again. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.